I think if an expat is moving to Budapest, he will get a cultural shock with 1,000 years of history, ancient buildings, very nice places, friendly people, good Hungarian cuisine. Of course, if you are liking spicy food, for example, take a visit at the city center, look around at the famous places, make a guided tour in the Hungarian parliament, walk around Danube promenade, go to the Hero Square or visit the St. Stephen's Basilica. But if you are ready to leave the city center, you can explore many, many more hidden gems.
Welcome to another episode in our series, Moving to Expatland, the journey to Budapest. My guest today is Mr. Marton Suto, tax partner at Budapest Consultants. Good morning, Marton. How are you?
Hello, good morning, John. Thank you, I'm fine.
Tell us a bit about you and where you grew up, Marton.
I grew up in Budapest. I was learning programming in the high school, and I've been attending the Budapest Business School, University of Applied Science, and I became an accountant and tax advisor. I love my job and doing it for more than 22 years now.
Well, that's quite a long time. So tell me, Marton, what took you to Budapest Consultants?
It's been an accident. I was graduating from the university nearly, and I was looking for my first job. And there was a newspaper announcement, and I made my interview with our partner Vilmos on Tuesday, and I was starting on Thursday, the very same week.
That's a great story. I've met Vilmos. He's a great man. Give him my best. And tell us a little bit more about Budapest Consultants. What services you offer businesses and expats moving to Budapest?
Our company, Budapest Consultants, is offering a wide range of services: accounting, payroll, HR, counseling, tax compliance, and most important services, fiscal representation for foreign companies doing business in Hungary without having a subsidiary. We have been on the market since 1992. We are focusing on foreigners' Hungarian business, either by setting up a subsidiary, opening a branch office, or just getting tax registered. And of course, expats who are planning to move to Budapest.
Thank you. And you mentioned fiscal representation. What are some of the things that I would need to do if I want to establish my business in Hungary before I arrive?
Okay, first, I think the best is to get your local consultant and know the local possibilities. Look around, ask for help, even because in Hungary, we are speaking Hungarian language. And that will be the most barrier for almost every foreigners. I think plan ahead, ask questions, and when you have enough information to make your decision, go ahead and start your business.
Does Hungary have a competitive tax regime compared to other countries in Eastern Europe?
I think currently the Hungarian tax regime for companies and for private individuals is very competitive. Corporate income tax is a flat rate of 9% based on the accounting profit. Personal income tax on all kind of incomes, private individuals, is 15%. It's an absolutely flat rate without a lower or upper boundary. And I think compared to or neighboring countries and to West Europe, it gives a huge advantage in terms of tax rate.
Yes, look, those tax rates sound very competitive. What are some of the other taxes that might impact on a business setting up in Hungary?
Other taxes, the main tax, which is in the focus of our tax authorities, VAT, of course. It is the highest rate in the world. The general rate is 27%, unfortunately. But this is a thought behind of the taxation of our current government, because they think that the consumption should be taxed at a higher level and the income of the companies and private individuals at a lower level.
So if I understand right, with a 27% VAT, is that something which businesses can claim back? Businesses can claim the VAT back, right?
Yes, VAT for general purpose company is working like everywhere in the European Union and all over the world. Input VAT can be deducted from your output VAT, and you have to pay only the difference based on your sales.
Got it. So 15% tax rate for an individual, but 27% for VAT. Is that VAT on all items of expenditure, or are there some exemptions that might apply for VAT?
The general VAT rate is 27%. It applies almost to each product and services sold. There are two reduced rates VATs, 18% and 5% on selected medical drugs, food, basic food stuff on housing, teleheating, internet subscription, for example. And we have a very limited number of tax-exempt items.
Understood. So if I buy a color TV in the Czech Republic and I drive across the border into Hungary, do I pay my extra VAT when I cross the border?
No, if you are purchasing your equipment as a private person in the Czech Republic and taking it to Hungary, you don't have to pay the difference by crossing the border, because Hungary is a member of the Schengen area in the European Union, and you can take your goods freely to Hungary without paying any additional tax or duty or any kind of additional tax.
Okay, that's interesting, because I know that in some other situations, foreign purchases, when they come into a country, that's when VAT at the country rate is chargeable. I guess that's good to know. So you could actually buy purchases, quote unquote, from elsewhere in the European Union quite perfectly and legally without facing further VAT when you bring them into Hungary.
Yes, if you are doing it in person.
So Martin, tell us a little bit about how Budapest Consultants has worked with expat business clients coming to Hungary.
We have assisted the client by applying for tax and social security registration. He was married with a Hungarian lady and moved to Budapest, and they recently contacted us to set up and help to set up their life in Hungary, because the guy was working for a US company, but they decided to move to Hungary because of family reasons. We've met at the beginning, went through their plans and their expectations, what they want to do and what would be the best possibility to achieve. And then we applied for the tax registration, social security, and helped them to set up their local Hungarian business. And currently they are running a very successful engineering company with Hungarian base. I think that's it.
That's good. I've been to Budapest a few times and met you and Vilmos and other members of our E-team. I love the city. But from your perspective, what are some of the highlights of Budapest that an expat can look forward to when they live there?
I think if an expat is moving to Budapest, he will get a cultural shock with 1,000 years of history, ancient buildings, very nice places, friendly people, good Hungarian cuisine. Of course, if you are liking spicy food, for example. In general, if you want to act as a general tourist, take a visit at the city center, look around at the famous places, make a guided tour in the Hungarian parliament, walk around Danube promenade, go to the Hero Square or visit the St. Stephen's Basilica. But if you are ready to leave the city center, you can explore many more hidden gems of the city and visit small places which worth spending a couple of hours and just lurking around by visiting and looking at the locals, the small places, streets, old buildings, and how Budapest developed from a small city to the capital of Hungary.
Well, I enjoyed very much walking the streets of the old town and looking at Fisherman's Wall, and I've done the parliamentary tour, so I can recommend that for anybody. One of the things which I found a bit challenging, though, was understanding the language and learning some phrases to use. I mean, I speak some Portuguese, some Armenian, and some English, and none of those were any help to me when I was trying to absorb Hungarian. What tips have you got for someone who moves there and wants to immerse themselves in the language?
I think you found the heaviest point in Hungary. The Hungarian language is very unique. The Hungarian population is about 10 million people, and outside of Hungary, there are additional 5 million who speak the Hungarian language. And if we know that the world's population is about 8 billion, we are only a handful of people who can speak the Hungarian language. It is often mixed up with the Finnish language. Hungarian and Finnish have common roots. The sound of the voice is very similar, but the grammar and everything behind is totally different. So I think if an expat is moving to Hungary, he has to learn the very basics of the Hungarian language to be able to communicate in everyday situation. Tell, thank you, yes, I need, please help me, or something like that. Otherwise, he will be lost in Budapest. You know, the younger generation is speaking foreign language, mainly English, but the elder generation speaks nothing, maybe a little bit of Russian because of the history. Otherwise, you have to communicate by acting like in the movie of the early 19,000 without voice.
Yes,
I think
yes.
that is the most difficult.
Yes, well, I can say that I was at a tram stop in Budapest and I did manage to make myself understood to an elderly gentleman who was kind enough to help me. But I did find, having said that, there was a lot of English spoken amongst the younger people. And I wonder really whether it is possible to go through an expat secondment without speaking the language. In your experience, is that possible?
I think no. If the expat is thinking on a long term, he has to learn Hungarian and get used to the local Hungarian language, understand the very basics, and be able to communicate on a very basic level with the Hungarian locals.
Day to
Yes,
day.
on the daily basis.
Cool. And so, apart from language, what are some of the other challenges of moving to Budapest?
I think the second most difficult challenge for expats are the Hungarian bureaucracy, because we have a lot of paperwork to do at different kind of authorities. In my experience, it is always wise to ask for help and for an assistance from your local partner or from a local citizen to help you understanding the forms, how to fill in and in which situation, which authority you should contact on the first place. This way you can save a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of headache for you. Plan a bit ahead, ask for help. Hungarian people are very friendly and are always ready to help.
Thank you. I imagine many of the government websites are not in English.
Yes, the Hungarian official language is Hungarian. Of course, it will be available as the first stage in Hungarian. The major or the most important portals are already available in English, but if you can use the modern era auto-translate function in your browser, it will give you a very good translation and you can understand the meaning, at least behind the Hungarian version, and you can understand it. Otherwise, contact your local partner and ask for help. It makes in many cases, much better approach and shorter solution or a better solution from beginning from the first point.
That's good advice. And from a cultural perspective, if I'm moving from Asia Pacific, the US, into Hungary, tell me a little bit about Hungarians. How should I expect to find the people? If I haven't lived there before, what are some of the things I should be aware of?
I think you should be open-minded and friendly to locals. If you are asking for help or asking any kind of question, you will get reliable reply. If you are coming from an other culture, from Hungary or from the European region, please respect our 1,000 years history. And if you are the one who would like to join us, you have to learn our past and our history, understand the current political and economic background to know what is happening and why it is happening. And I think it is always wise to ask questions. If you are asking for a question, you will be treated as a guest, and guests are always welcomed, and the people in Hungary love to help foreigners to get guidance in everyday life.
Yes, well, I think that's good to know. And in Australia, for example, we speak pretty directly when we deliver a message. And whether that's a positive message or a negative message, we tend to be quite direct in the way we speak. Is that the same in Hungary, or are they perhaps a bit more diplomatic about the way they deliver a message?
I think it is always a better option if you are honest and direct to the people you are talking to. I mean, you should first express your expectations prior to your business. And if something went wrong, you should tell and give a direct feedback. What was your expectation and what was the result, and why you are unsatisfied with the communication or with the feedback of your locals. I think it gives a much better outcome than to or give a much sophisticated reply or answer why you are not satisfied with outcome.
Another question that expats are curious about is the healthcare system in Hungary. Is it advisable to rely on the public system, or should you also supplement that with private health insurance?
Okay, in Hungary, there is a general healthcare system for everybody who has a social security in Hungary. To be honest, I recommend to all our clients to get a private health insurance. It gives a much higher level of everyday praxis and the way the clients are treated at the hospitals and at the doctors.
And also, the question has arisen a number of times, are there different schools catering to different nationalities in Budapest?
Yes, as we were speaking about, the Hungarian language could be the barrier for the expats. And because of this, a lot of international schools are available in Budapest. For example, the US school from kindergarten up to the high school, the French school, German school. For example, my elder son is starting the mid school from Austrian school from the next September. You can find all kinds of international schools in Hungary.
That's good to know, and I think quite comforting to parents moving to Hungary. In Singapore, we have a variety of schools, so it sounds like that's the same in Budapest. Are there any other local tips that you'd like to share with an expat about how to make friends with local Hungarians?
Yes, of course. I think the best opportunity to get to know the locals is by visiting either a local sport event. There are a lot of running competitions and different kind of sports, for example, soccer and any kind of ball-related sports. Or on the other hand, visit local pubs. Of course, you have to be aware of the Hungarian spirit called pálinka, and you can taste very unique flavors based on the Hungarian pub culture and on the underground culture. I think these are the best places to know the locals. Or even if you have a pet and you are visiting a park near to your location, it could be a very good opportunity and icebreaker to take your dog on a short walk and start a conversation with anybody.
That's a good answer to that question. What is it about the Expatland global network that made you want to join an E-team?
Expatland Global Network gave us a good opportunity to get new engagements directly from the network, know new clients from overall the world who would like to either move to Hungary or to set up a business or subsidiary in Hungary. So these were the most important reasons for us to join the network.
And perhaps you can tell us a little bit about some of the other members in your E-team.
Budapest A-team consists of 3 members. We are partnering with KCG partners who are providing all kinds of lawyer activities. I would like to highlight Gabriela and Rita from KCG and welcome them in our conversation. And our third partner in our A-team is the ARC Relocation. And we are partnering with Zoltán, who is engaging the clients for housing, relocation, and for visa kind of jobs.
That's good. And we'll have KCG and ARC Relocation on subsequent podcasts. How can your E-team help an expat coming to Budapest?
We can assist by applying tax and social security registration, by picking a suitable taxation scheme for the expat and for their family, then setting up a local entity and doing their business by this entity. Our philosophy is to discuss each question before making a decision. You know, it is always easier to think through the possibilities first and act second compared to do something and try to cure the consequences afterwards. And ARC Relocation can help our clients by found housing, proper healthcare, school for the children, and every kind regarding relocation.
Thank you. So I think everyone's pretty well covered if they are moving to Budapest. Now, moving away from the E-team, what are some of the things you like to do when you're not working, Martin?
In my spare time, I like to do sports, especially orienteering or on kayaking on the Danube. I think these are very good opportunities to be in the city, discover hidden parts of Budapest, but be relaxed and do totally different thing than I'm doing in my everyday job.
Well, that sounds nice, kayaking on the Danube. I wonder whether you find tourist boats get in the way when you're kayaking on the Danube, or you maybe do it in parts where the tourist boats aren't.
You can do on both parts. In the northern part of Budapest, there aren't so many tourist boats all around and water is more quiet. But of course, there are a lot of tours, kayaking tours or sunset tours through Budapest, where you are starting in the northern part and kayaking through Budapest to the city center at sunset time. Of course, these days you have to pay attention to the many tourist boats, but they are keeping an eye always on smaller kayaking tours, of course.
Well, but after I saw you the other day, I went to Romania and actually followed the Danube out to near Constanta, where it goes into the Black Sea. So I wonder whether you've been to that part of the Danube.
No, not yet, but this is on my bucket list to make a kayaking tour from Budapest till the Black Sea and visit places in Romania and especially where the Danube is widening and looks like the Amazonas. It is wide, so wide that you can see the other part from the one you are in.
I kayak in Sydney. I would be most happy to be part of the kayak tour group, kayaking from Budapest to the Black Sea. So count me in. So that brings us to the final question, which is what's the best way for listeners to reach out to Budapest Consultants and Marton Suto?
I think it is very simple. Just drop me an email with your question. We will get in touch with you shortly. I prefer to meet our clients in person or via Teams or Zoom first. It makes the business more personal and give the first impression to each party.
That's good. Well, thank you, Marton, for a wonderful interview and sharing your thoughts and insights with us on the move to Expatland and the journey to Budapest. Thanks very much.
Thanks, John.
Well, that brings us to the end of another episode, and we look forward to you joining us again when we have another podcast for you.